We are all human, some to a lesser degree. Filled with rage, all this hate spreads quicker than any infectious disease. You don't show respect, and yet you expect it for free. Until the shoe's on the other foot, we will never be destined for peace. Look, I won't pretend we don't have a need for dedicated police, but how do you give that man a badge and a gun and never ask if that tat on his arm celebrates a racist regime? It's 2020. We shouldn't have people slain in the streets or find them hanging in trees. Imagine that trauma. After all the progress, after the sacrifice made by Dr. King, hundreds of years of oppression, and you're offended by somebody taking a knee? Imagine working all day in the heat just to settle down for the night and have to listen to your wife getting raped in her sleep. Imagine hundreds of years of being shackled in the land of the free, getting held down and only given about 60 to stand on your feet. Laws wrote by lost souls, they planted this seed that conspired to control what we see on TV. If it was a black man on the screen, he was either handcuffed or disrupting the peace. Their only intention was to shift public opinion, so we judge based on what the color of skin is instead of what's underneath. They aimed their prejudices and painted them as villains, all in hopes that they would underachieve. Then they declared a war on drugs and used that authority to make it a priority to mostly prosecute in the community of minorities. And that's all forgotten by the majority. Generations of incarcerations, and you tell them to grab a bootstrap and conduct yourself cordially? Aiming guns high, expecting them not to get tongue-tied. Any sudden movements, they'll send you to the other side. Scared to reach for your ID, cause you imagine the look in your mother's eyes when she's gotta tell your little sister that her only brother died. Family sees it on the news, they're confused by another lie, saying he reached for a gun and the officer was able to fire 10 shots in the nick of time. Even if the first 5 shots missed, the last 5 were on his inside starting a mosh pit. And it all started with the routine stop and frisk. Officer, could you please tell us why you thought that man was suspicious? Was it the color of his skin or the fuck the police graphic tee? Come on, you can admit it. Did you take that man's life because your ego and self-image was so diminished, so you sent hot lead from his chest down to his appendix? We should interview your apprentice so he can tell us about all the comments you make when you think no one can listen. This is the hard truth. It needs viewer discretion. I refuse to turn on the news until there's fewer deceptions. We can't hate all cops. That just fuels the aggression, and anxiety makes it super hard for them to stay cool under pressure. We have to celebrate the good cops. They could use the incentive. In this country, there's a definitive ignorance. We could use some perspective, but we can't turn to our leaders because they use this oppression to line their pockets and improve their pensions. We need an open mind. We need to swallow our pride before it's used as a weapon against us. Get to know your representatives.